Welcome to Crafted Nest, a home where creativity meets serenity. Today, we'll journey into the heart of timeless garden design, exploring rustic vintage decor that transforms any front yard into a sanctuary filled with stories and charm. Here, every weathered wood, every blooming heirloom flower, and every antique accent becomes a piece of living poetry. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to Crafted Nest and tap the bell icon so you'll never miss more inspiration to craft beauty, peace, and comfort right where you are. When we embrace the idea of using old containers in our gardens, we are not simply planting flowers. We are giving forgotten objects a new chapter in their story. Imagine stumbling across a chipped ceramic pot in a flea market or an enamel bucket left behind in a dusty attic. With a little care and imagination, these items can be transformed into living vessels of beauty, overflowing with herbs, blooms, and trailing vines. The charm of a vintage container garden lies in its imperfection. Each scratch, each faded color, whispers of a time long past. When placed in your rustic front yard, these humble vessels instantly add warmth and nostalgia, turning ordinary corners into soulful spaces. There is poetry in the way moss hugs the rim of an old pot, or how a wooden crate, once used to carry fruit, now bursts with marigolds in golden light. The practicality is just as inspiring. Containers allow you to create gardens where soil may be poor, or where space is limited. They can be moved with the seasons, rearranged when you want a fresh view, and layered to build textures of height and color. And the best part? They don't demand perfection. A slightly broken pot or a rusting basin only deepens the authenticity of the scene. To make it thrive, remember simple tips. Drill holes for drainage, use rich soil, and group containers in 3s or 5s for visual balance. Trust the process. Nature will take care of the rest. Step outside one bright morning, and you may find that your vintage containers, once cast aside, now sing harmonies with the flowers they cradle, creating a timeless melody in your rustic garden. A garden path is more than a way to move from one place to another. It is a gentle invitation, guiding footsteps and telling stories beneath every stride. Picture an old cobblestone pathway, its surface uneven yet full of character, each stone carrying the marks of weather and time. Moss weaves its way into the cracks, softening the hardness of stone with a tender green embrace. Walking along such a path is like taking a journey into memory. The crunch of gravel, the cool touch of brick, and the whisper of leaves overhead create a rhythm that slows the heart. Suddenly, even the shortest walk to the front door feels like an escape into a simpler, more timeless world. Designing your own rustic pathway doesn't demand perfection. In fact, the beauty lies in its irregularity. Use reclaimed bricks, weathered stones, or gravel with wooden borders to create shapes that flow naturally with your yard. Allow plants to spill gently across the edges, lavender brushing your legs as you pass, marigolds nodding in the sunlight. These small touches turn a functional element into poetry underfoot. Practicality is part of the magic. Gravel paths are easy to maintain, cobblestones last for decades, and brick carries warmth in its earthy tones. By layering textures, hard against soft, rough against delicate, you create balance and depth. Every evening, as the golden sun sinks, your path will glow with the last light of the day, leading you home with quiet grace. And in the morning, dew glistens like tiny jewels on stone, promising a fresh beginning. With each step, you'll be reminded, sometimes the journey is as beautiful as the destination. There is a unique magic in the garden when sound becomes part of the design. Not the harsh noise of machines or traffic, but the gentle music of nature itself. Birdsong carried on the morning breeze, the soft tinkling of a wind chime stirred by the wind. These sounds transform a rustic yard into a sanctuary for the soul. Imagine stepping outside as dawn breaks. The sky is painted in pale gold, and from a branch nearby, a sparrow greets the day with a melody. Beneath the eaves of your porch, an antique bronze wind chime sways, its tone deep and soothing. Each note seems to echo through the heart, blending with the laughter of birds and the rustle of leaves. Bringing vintage sound elements into your garden is not difficult. Repurpose an old birdcage as a resting place for visiting doves, or hang weathered chimes where breezes can awaken them. Even a simple clay bell or a bamboo whistle can add texture to the soundscape, layering tones with the music of the living world. The practical joy lies in how these elements invite wildlife. A small water basin or a shallow bowl set among flowers will draw songbirds, who repay you with music each day. They remind you that the garden is not yours alone, but a shared stage where nature performs without rehearsal. As the day passes, each sound becomes a thread in the fabric of your yard's story. Morning brings the chorus of birds, afternoon hums with the wind through chimes, and evening quiets to the gentle creak of wood settling into rest. In these notes, you'll discover that beauty is not only seen, but also heard. A garden fence or gate is more than a boundary. It is the frame that holds the picture of your home. When made with rustic, weathered materials, it tells a story even before one steps inside. Imagine approaching a yard where the wooden boards are not freshly cut, but softened by years of sunlight and rain. Each crack, each knot in the wood, is a mark of authenticity, a memory etched into its surface. Rustic fences and gates have a way of balancing strength and welcome. They provide security while offering charm, blending seamlessly with the earth and plants that surround them. A reclaimed wood fence whispers of sustainability, while an iron gate with curling designs speaks of artistry and tradition. Moss grows naturally at the base, vines climb upward, and the line between man-made and natural becomes beautifully blurred. The act of creating such a feature need not be expensive or perfect. Old pallets can be reimagined into sturdy panels. Stones gathered from nearby fields can become the foundation of a low wall. Even a gate found at a flea market, with rust on its hinges, can be restored with care to become the centerpiece of your entrance. Practicality supports the poetry. A solid fence protects delicate plants from harsh winds, while a thoughtfully designed gate guides visitors toward the heart of your garden. Add flowering pots nearby, and suddenly the entrance becomes an invitation, not just a barrier. Every time you step through, the weathered surface under your hand reminds you that beauty is not always polished. Sometimes, it is aged, imperfect, and enduring, just like the timeless garden it guards. The soul of a rustic vintage garden often lies in the details, the small, time-worn accents that spark curiosity and tell untold stories. A watering can with chipped paint may once have belonged to a grandmother's garden. An old lantern, though no longer needed for light, glows now with the memory of evenings past. These pieces, when placed thoughtfully, turn an ordinary yard into a living gallery of history and heart. What makes curated vintage accents so powerful is the way they blend art and function. An antique birdcage can serve as a planter, vines curling gracefully through its bars. A rusty wheelbarrow may carry flowers instead of soil, bursting into color that contrasts beautifully with its weathered frame. Even tools no longer sharp can lean against a fence, reminding us of the hands that once worked with them. These items need not be expensive or rare. Flea markets, thrift shops, and even forgotten corners of a family home can hold treasures waiting to be rediscovered. With a simple cleaning or a coat of protective sealant, they can withstand the outdoors while keeping their rustic charm intact. In a garden filled with plants and pathways, these accents provide punctuation. They draw the eye, invite the touch, and whisper stories to those who pause to notice them. They remind us that beauty is not only in blossoms, but also in the objects that accompany them, aged with dignity and character. When you curate with love, each piece becomes a reflection of your journey. Together, they create harmony, an unspoken dialogue between past and present, between man and nature, between memory and renewal. In a garden, reflections have a way of deepening the experience, as if the space itself were whispering secrets through glass. An antique mirror, with its weathered frame and softened surface, does more than reflect flowers and sky. It creates an illusion of endlessness. Suddenly, a modest corner feels larger, a path feels longer, and a garden feels like a world without boundaries. Imagine a rustic fence where a tall, arched mirror hangs, its paint chipped by time. You step closer, and instead of seeing only wood and stone, you glimpse a doubled meadow of lavender swaying in the wind. The glass does not lie, but it invites imagination, blending what is real with what could be. Vintage glass features add similar enchantment. A tarnished orb on a pedestal captures the morning sun, scattering light across petals. A reclaimed window pane leaned against a wall becomes a frame for climbing roses. These elements carry nostalgia, reminding us of homes long gone, yet offering new beauty in the present. Practicality meets poetry here as well. Mirrors can brighten shaded corners, bouncing light where plants crave it most. Reflective surfaces draw the eye, turning overlooked spots into focal points. They are tools, but also storytellers, giving new life to forgotten objects. To create your own, seek out old mirrors at flea markets or use reclaimed window frames. Weatherproof them gently to survive outdoors, but allow their aged character to shine through. Pair them with greenery so that reflections blur with leaves and flowers. In the stillness of a bright afternoon, when you catch your own reflection mingling with vines, you will feel it. The garden is not just a place you see, but a place that sees you back. Every garden deserves a place where the heart can pause, a nook where time slows and the world feels softer. A vintage seating area offers exactly that. It is not just furniture placed in a yard. It is an embrace, a promise of mornings with tea, evenings with stories, and afternoons filled with the quiet hum of nature. Imagine stepping onto a porch where two rocking chairs wait, their wooden arms smoothed by countless hands. Around them, pots overflow with roses and lavender, their fragrance mingling in the air. A lantern hangs nearby, ready to cast a glow when the sun slips behind the horizon. It is a setting that welcomes not only you, but also your thoughts, your laughter, your dreams. Designing such a space is an act of intimacy. Choose furniture that speaks of history, wrought iron chairs with curling patterns, reclaimed wooden benches, or even an old table found at a flea market. Layer them with soft textiles, faded cushions, crocheted throws, or rugs that carry the memory of hands that made them. Surround the seating area with plants to blur the boundary between human comfort and nature's wildness. Practical details enhance the poetry. Position your nook where morning light filters gently, or where evening breezes cool the air. Add a small table for tea or books, and hang string lights to carry the atmosphere into night. Here, in this vintage nook, you will find more than a place to sit. You will find a refuge, a corner where seasons come and go, where flowers bloom and fade, where moments settle into memory like sunlight on wood. And each time you return, the garden will welcome you as if you never left. A timeless garden is incomplete without plants that carry memory within their roots, heirloom flowers and heritage varieties that have been loved for generations. These plants are more than decoration. They are living bridges to the past, connecting us to gardens once tended by hands long gone. Picture rows of lavender swaying gently in the breeze, their fragrance wrapping the air like a familiar song. Old-fashioned roses bloom in shades that feel eternal, while hydrangeas burst with color, painting the yard in soft blues and pinks. Ferns stretch gracefully in the shade, and ivy trails along fences, softening every corner. Together, they weave a storybook garden, one that feels both nostalgic and alive. Choosing heirloom plants is a way of choosing resilience. These varieties often thrive with less intervention, having adapted through years of natural growth. Their seeds, passed down through generations, carry not only beauty but history. When you plant them in your rustic yard, you become part of that story, a steward of timeless elegance. The joy lies not only in the blooms, but in their rhythm. Perennials return each year, familiar friends greeting you with reliability. Annuals, with their fleeting bursts of color, remind you of the preciousness of the present season. Together, they ensure that your garden is never static, always unfolding like a gentle narrative. Practical tips are simple: mix heights for depth, Pair fragrance with color and layer plants to create lush textures. Place taller blooms like foxglove behind roses and lavender, letting each plant complement the other. As you walk among them in morning light, dew glistening like jewels on petals, you will feel it. Your garden is not just planted. It is inherited, cherished, and renewed. There is something deeply comforting about sitting in a garden where the furniture feels as though it has always belonged. Vintage pieces carry an air of familiarity, inviting us not just to sit, but to stay, to linger, and to listen to the whispers of nature around us. Imagine a weathered wooden bench tucked under the shade of a tree. Its paint, chipped and softened by the years, glows warmly in the sun. Beside it, a wrought iron chair with curling designs sits proudly, while a small table, perhaps once a forgotten crate, now holds a vase of fresh lavender. Together, they do more than provide a seat. They create a stage for quiet conversations, morning tea, or solitary reflection. What makes vintage garden furniture so special is its blend of beauty and endurance. These pieces are often sturdy, crafted in an age when design was built to last. They carry character in every curve and dent, telling silent stories of gatherings and moments gone by. When placed thoughtfully in your rustic yard, they become both functional and poetic. Practical considerations are gentle. Protect wood with natural oils, choose weather-resistant finishes for iron, and add cushions that invite comfort. Mix and match materials, iron with wicker, wood with stone, to create layers of texture that echo the variety of the garden itself. Over time, these furnishings will blend into the living tapestry. Moss may kiss their legs, vines may curl nearby, and flowers may lean close, as if to keep them company. And as you rest there, watching light change across the day, you'll realize that your furniture is no longer just furniture. It has become part of the garden's soul. When the sun sinks and shadows begin to stretch, the garden does not have to fall silent. With the gentle touch of rustic lighting, night becomes another canvas, painting warmth across every corner of your outdoor space. Light in this setting is not just about seeing, it is about feeling. Picture mason jar lanterns swaying gently from branches, their glow soft as starlight. Along the pathway, solar lamps flicker, guiding each step as if telling you where the story continues. On the porch, a pergola strung with golden bulbs creates an intimate stage where conversations can last well into the night. Even simple candles in iron sconces, set against a weathered fence, add poetry to the evening air. What makes rustic lighting so enchanting is its balance between practicality and romance. It illuminates the way, yet it also creates mood, wrapping the yard in comfort. Unlike harsh, modern lamps, these vintage-inspired pieces speak softly. Their glow feels alive, as though the light itself remembers the days before electricity, when lanterns were guardians of the dark. Adding such touches is simple and rewarding. Reuse mason jars as lanterns with candles or fairy lights. Hang string bulbs where gatherings happen most. Place solar lamps along borders to highlight flowers after dusk. Each choice weaves together safety, beauty, and storytelling. On warm evenings, when fireflies dance and a soft breeze stirs the lights, you'll understand. Your garden has not gone quiet. It has only changed its voice. By day it sings with flowers and birdsong, and by night it whispers in golden glow, reminding you that beauty never sleeps. Every garden has a voice, and sometimes that voice speaks through signs. Not the polished ones you find in stores, but weathered boards and plaques that carry the poetry of age. A rustic sign with faded letters tells a story even before you read it. It whispers of the hands that painted it, the seasons it has endured, the memories it has welcomed. Imagine a wooden board leaning against a fence, its paint chipped but still glowing with character. Beside it, daisies bloom, as if guarding its message. Or a metal plaque on an old gate, its surface kissed by rust, framed by ivy that climbs with grace. These small touches do more than decorate. They invite, they guide, and they enchant. Creating vintage signage for your garden is both simple and rewarding. Use reclaimed wood, sand it lightly, and paint words by hand. Welcome, garden, or even your family's name. Let the paint fade naturally under sun and rain, because imperfection is the beauty here. For a sturdier touch, metal signs with aged patina can be mounted on walls or gates, carrying history in their tarnished glow. Practicality lives within the charm. Signs can guide guests along pathways, mark herb beds, or simply create moments of surprise. Place them at entrances, beside benches, or near flower beds where eyes will linger. Protect them with a light sealant so they endure without losing their rustic soul. As you walk your garden path and see a weathered sign greeting you, you may feel as though you've stepped into a storybook. Words painted years ago become part of your present, reminding you that beauty lies not only in flowers, but also in the quiet messages we leave behind. There is a quiet dignity in materials that have lived another life before finding their place in your garden. Reclaimed wood, weathered stones, aged iron. Each piece carries its own history, and together they form the framework of a garden that feels timeless and true. Imagine a low wall built from mismatched bricks, their edges softened by decades of rain. A pergola overhead, its beams rough-hewn and darkened by time, now supports climbing roses that weave through its gaps. A fence of uneven planks creaks gently in the wind, while moss claims the spaces between stone and earth. Nothing is polished, yet everything belongs. The beauty of reclaimed materials lies in their imperfections. Every crack, every mark tells a story. Instead of hiding those flaws, you let them shine, allowing your garden to echo with memory. And in doing so, you practice sustainability, breathing new life into wood, metal, and stone that might otherwise be discarded. Practicality makes the poetry even sweeter. Old timber is often stronger than fresh-cut wood. Weathered bricks retain warmth and color that modern ones cannot imitate. Stones gathered from nature add grounding to pathways and borders, blending effortlessly with plants. By using these materials, you create not just a garden, but an honest reflection of time and care. When you walk through such a space, you feel the past and present merge. The wood creaks underhand, the stone feels cool underfoot, and the iron glows faintly in the sun. This is a garden that does not chase perfection but embraces authenticity, an outdoor haven shaped by stories, both old and new. Water has always been the soul of a garden. Its gentle movement soothes the spirit, its sound carries peace into the air, and its reflection adds another layer of beauty to what already blooms. In a rustic vintage yard, even the smallest fountain or water feature can feel like a treasure, a reminder of life's quiet flow. Picture a terracotta jug, cracked but strong, set on its side so water spills endlessly into a moss-lined basin. Or a copper bowl repurposed as a fountain, catching the sunlight as ripples dance across its surface. These features do not shout for attention. Instead, they whisper serenity, filling the air with music that cannot be seen but is always felt. The charm lies in simplicity. You don't need grand designs or expensive installations. An old jug, a basin, a few stones, when arranged with care, they become a living feature that changes with every moment. Birds will come to sip, dragonflies will hover above, and in the quiet hours, the trickle of water will steady your thoughts. Practical tips help the poetry thrive. Place fountains where the sound can be enjoyed from seating areas. Line basins with moss or pebbles to enhance texture, and keep the water clean so plants and animals can share it safely. Small solar pumps make these features eco-friendly, humming gently as they keep water flowing. In the end, it is not about the size of the fountain, but the feeling it creates. In the bright stillness of the afternoon, when sunlight catches droplets midair, your garden will feel alive with movement and calm. A timeless melody of water, stone, and sky, played only for those who pause to listen. When wood and metal meet in a garden, something extraordinary happens. One offers warmth, the other strength. One carries the softness of the earth, the other the durability of time. Together, they create harmony, a rustic texture that feels both grounded and elegant. Imagine sitting on a bench where wooden slats have been worn smooth by years of use, while the wrought iron frame curls gracefully into patterns of artistry. Above, A pergola of reclaimed beams is fastened with dark iron brackets, steady and enduring, supporting vines that weave freely between strength and softness. Each element is different, yet together they form a rhythm that speaks of balance. This style celebrates contrast. The grain of wood glows warmly in sunlight, while metal reflects sharp lines and cool tones. When paired in a rustic front yard, they highlight one another, just as a song blends melody and harmony. The result is not a clash, but a conversation between natural and man-made, delicate and durable. Creating this look can be simple. Repurpose wooden crates with metal handles into planters, or pair a wooden table with iron chairs. Use reclaimed beams for structures, letting the imperfections of wood complement the sturdiness of metal. Over time, rust and weather only deepen the character, telling stories that new materials cannot. Practicality is woven into beauty. Metal strengthens joints and frames, while wood brings comfort and natural integration with plants. Together, they resist time while embracing it, becoming more authentic with age. As you walk through such a garden, you feel its strength and softness existing side by side. Each piece whispers of endurance, yet invites tenderness, reminding us that true beauty is often found in contrast, that learns to live as one. A vintage garden, to remain timeless, must also know how to dance with time. The seasons are not obstacles but companions, each bringing its own mood, its own palette, its own whisper of beauty. Styling your rustic yard to reflect the passing months ensures it never grows stale, but always feels alive. In spring, pastel flowers awaken the world. Tulips, daffodils, and cherry blossoms brighten corners, while vintage pots painted in soft hues bring freshness to the air. The garden feels like a gentle promise, urging us to begin again. Summer brings warmth and abundance. Wooden tables become picnic spots, draped with old linens, while vintage watering cans overflow with roses and daisies. String lights twinkle above late gatherings, and laughter mingles with the hum of cicadas. Autumn arrives with richness. Pumpkins sit proudly in wooden crates, lanterns glow against the crisp air, and wheelbarrows filled with harvest produce remind us of gratitude. Fallen leaves gather along cobblestones, painting the ground in shades of amber and gold. And then winter, quiet but not empty. Evergreen sprigs tucked into rustic planters, red berries bringing color, old lanterns offering light in the early dusk. The garden feels slower, more contemplative, yet still full of life, proof that even in rest, beauty persists. The secret lies not in grand gestures, but small, thoughtful touches. Adapt your garden with each season, reusing the same vintage objects in new ways. A crate can hold flowers in spring, pumpkins in autumn, and pine cones in winter. By embracing the rhythm of the year, your rustic yard becomes more than a place. It becomes a living calendar, a timeless companion that shifts and sings with the passing seasons.